Hello everyone, Dibz here, and welcome to part 2 of this series of Overwatch, the best sniper spots to help you get started. In my previous video, I went over the maps Hanamura, King's Row, Temple of Anubis, and Watch Point Gibraltar. If you haven't checked that one out, feel free to do so, and I'll put it in the description. Note that just because I am mentioning these positions does not mean that you should play them every game or stick to them the entire time. This video is just to give you a general idea on which spots to add to your arsenal. Today, we will cover the rest of the maps in the current map pool, so let's get started with Dorado. Now, Dorado may seem like one of the more difficult maps to snipe on because of how many buildings there are on the map. However, there are plenty of spots on this map that allow you to get vision of the payload as it comes through. The first thing you really want to think about when sniping is having a place to snipe from and also have cover. For example, this first spot above the payload is a good spot to snipe anybody coming from the top. You can also go ahead and put a spider mine on the payload in case anybody tries to get on it, as well as look at the right entrance as well. Now, if you don't want such an aggressive position, you can actually pull back into this area and still get a good overview of the payload as well as the top entrance. Place a spider mine behind you on any part of the steps to be notified when you are being flanked. Note that on the left side, enemies can also come from this entrance. You cannot see this left entrance from the top of the building, and if you have a Hanzo arrow revealing their locations, you can actually snipe the enemy from here as well. However, you should be careful because there is not much cover. For a less aggressive position on the left area, you can snipe from atop this roof as well. This is a very good defensive position because it still allows you to snipe the payload as well. As the payload goes through this first area, you can try to readjust your position and get a better view. Be sure to know that on the right building, enemies can come from below and walk up the stairs behind you. You also want to place a spider mine here to be notified when enemies are flanking you. If your team starts to get pushed back towards this first checkpoint, you can find cover behind this fountain and still get a good view of the payload. You want to keep eyes on a top walkway for other Widowmakers as well. For a better view of the area, you can actually pull back to on top of this entrance. It does not have much cover, but it gives you a good view of the left and also the right side. After the first checkpoint, you can pull back to on top of this balcony over here. This is one of my favorite spots to snipe from on this map. It allows you to see anybody coming from the right side through the health pack, and with your vision, you can also see anybody walking through the middle and left side. If you have your ultimate up at this position, you can easily line up shots and get a lot of unexpected kills. You can also get a different view of the area by hooking on top of here. This is also a decent spot because your enemies will be facing the other direction, trying to push the payload forward. Their backs will be towards you and you can get good shots. As long as your team is doing a good job keeping their attention, you should be able to get a few kills. Again, you want to put a spider mine on top of the steps to know when you're being flanked from below. If the payload manages to make it past that area, you can easily reposition yourself on top of this walkway. You also want to keep eyes on the right side because enemy snipers will try to take you out from there. Enemies coming from below will come through the right side. You also want to put a spider mine on these steps. A little farther back, you can snipe from these steps and get really good cover as well.
Allez, montre-toi.
If you are being flanked, you'll be most likely flanked from the left side, so keep eyes on that too. Now this last sniping area allows you to see the entire part of the last room. You can snipe the main entrance and also have eyes on the left entrance if anybody is trying to flank you. Now on offense on Dorado, you typically want to start off on this top ledge here. The first place you want to check is directly in front of you on this top building. It is a very common sniper spot. You can also check your bottom right as well. After those 2 points are clear, you can have eyes on the payload and help your team push forward. Once your payload starts moving, or if you want to be more offensive, you can hook onto this building and get a better eye of the next area. Be sure to check the room below you and also the top left of the building. A lot of snipers like to be situated there along with Torbjorn turrets as well. This alleyway on the right side is also very common for Symmetras and other enemy opponents. Once your payload starts to pass under the underpass, you can snipe from here as a lot of people like to set up their defenses in this area. If it's clear, you can hook up to this top ledge and get an overview of the area behind your enemies. This will allow you to get free shots on them and possibly get a few kills. If you can't get directly behind your enemy, you can snipe from above the overpass as well. However, the enemy will most likely be watching this area, so you have to be careful. Not only that, you can be pretty much shot from all directions.
Allez, montre-toi.
This spot is also good on offense, as it allows you to help push the payload. And it also gives you good vision behind your enemy in the next area. The enemy team will be pushing through this large entrance and trying to push your payload backwards towards the left. A lot of enemy snipers and turrets tend to be on top of this walkway, so make sure to take those out. However, you are pretty vulnerable towards your right side when sniping this open area, so putting a spider mine there will be very useful. Next is Hollywood. Now, Hollywood is one of the most interesting maps to snipe on because of the variety of spots they have for snipers. In every area, you can pretty much find a spot and have pretty decent cover while doing so. This is a good first spot to snipe from because it gives you a great view of the main entrance. Now, to cover your left entrance, you want to put a spider mine there to be notified. However, it is a typically dangerous spot to try to escape from. So if you're being pushed back, you want to be quick on the escape. On top of this building in the next area is a typical good spot to snipe from. If you want to know if enemies are coming through this doorway on the right, you can put a spider mine up here on the steps to be notified earlier in advance. When sniping from this point, you also want to watch the top of that building as well. A lot of snipers like to counter snipe you from there. As you can see, you have a pretty good overview of the entire entrance, which is why it's really common. You also want to watch the left exit as well if you see anybody on the main entrance making a left. Not only that, Pharahs like to fly over this area and try to take you out from there. Most of the time though, you can pick them off pretty easily if you expect it. Another less aggressive area to snipe from to cover this area is on top of the point itself. It gives you a really high vantage point and it's pretty safe. The best part is that it allows you to see enemies coming from behind or towards the right side. If you're busy keeping your eyes on the left side, you can put a spider mine on the right side or vice versa. There is also this room here that you can snipe from as well on defense. It allows you to snipe opponents from the back while they're busy trying to take the payload. Most of the time they're distracted by your teammates defending the payload. This last spot here gives you the most cover while trying to watch the entire area. Now in this next area, you can pretty much watch from atop of any of these buildings. However, I like this spot the most because it is the most effective as it's a straight shot on the payload. Now if you decide to snipe from on top of the left building here, you want to make sure to put a spider mine on this lift here as it's the only way for other people to get on if they're not able to fly. When the payload starts pushing through this point, you can still get a good view on it on top of this building. However, you want to keep eyes on your left for flankers. You also might want to watch your right as well. This is also another flanking area. Enemies can also come through this building and come out through this top entrance. Now when dealing with them, you want to make sure you use this board as cover. Now this is where you want to utilize your crouch to make sure you're covered on the right side. As you can see, crouching allows you to peek on the left and also the right side without being shot through the middle building. This top area in the next building is also very common. It allows you to get a good vantage point on the entire area. The payload will be passing through the main entrance here, and you want to make sure to keep your eyes on the left entrances as well. There is also one small entrance that the enemies can come from the right. Now in this room, there's this one special spot that you can snipe from that I want to talk about. It's right on top of this ball here. It provides you with a lot of cover and you can pretty much snipe all entrances as well. Enemies will typically not notice you here and you can pretty much get good shots off here. However, whenever you get found out first, you want to move to a different spot so you don't get picked off when they come back to kill you the next time. You can transfer yourself further back and snipe from this area too. However, it's directly above the payload and people will be expecting you here. Instead of sniping from there, I like to snipe from back here. It gives you the most cover and gives you a straight shot as well. Not only that, it's harder for the enemy to hit you when you're all the way back here. You want to make sure to keep eyes on the right entrance with the spider mine, the left entrance as well, and also the top left. Flankers like to come from here. Now let's move on to offense. On offensive Hollywood, you typically want to be able to take out their sniper from this top ledge here. Most of the time though, they'll be expecting you, so you can pretty much snipe from the bottom floor as well. Not only that, if you snipe from the floor and they don't expect you, you can take out anybody sniping from the big vantage point on the next area here. You can actually see it from the ground level. Now on offense, you can also use the top of these buildings as well. If you watch the left entrance, enemies will be coming from here trying to defend the payload. However, you first want to take out any defenders on top of this walkway. If you move into this area earlier than everyone else, you want to make sure to watch this entrance as enemies can still be spawning from here. If not, then you can pretty much find any place to get cover from and still snipe from any position. When the payload is pushing through the last area, this spot is probably the best that you can snipe from. Most of the time the enemies are very distracted and there's a lot of chaos going on, but if you can pick off people, that'll be great. However, you want to make sure you watch out for the enemy Widowmaker. She'll most likely be watching this spot as well. However, if you're feeling a little bit sneaky and your opponents are pretty distracted, you can move up onto this top area and snipe the enemies as they come out of their spawn. You get a very good view of the very last area, but you want to make sure to watch your right side. They can come up from the stairs here. Now for Volskaya Industries. This map has a very long respawn walk, so as Widowmaker, you want to make sure that you do not die right off the bat. A good spot is right on top of this building. It allows you to see the right entrance as well as put a spider mine in the main one to see if anybody's coming out from there. It provides you with a lot of cover as well. Note that a lot of flankers such as Tracer and Genji like to use the right side to flank behind your team. You want to make sure to watch them and take them out before or let your team know that they're coming from behind. Further back onto the left side, you can use this area to watch the left side. You're provided with a lot of cover from your right, and also you can peek to the right as well. However, when peeking to the right, you want to make sure your left is covered with the spider mine. Note that enemies can also jump on the roof. If you start being attacked, you can jump down behind you and be more aggressive at this spot here. If you want to be more defensive, however, you can hook onto this building and snipe from here as well. Once the opponent starts to push the point, you can use this area as good cover and still have good view of the entire control point. However, you want to make sure to watch the right side as flankers can be coming from the area I talked about in the beginning. They'll be exiting out from this area or on top of the building. You can also snipe from the right side and still have good cover. From this point though, your right side is more vulnerable, so you need to watch that as well. While on the way to the last area of defense, you can actually jump onto one of these moving platforms and snipe from here. It makes you a moving target while you are sniping and you are harder to hit as well. You can snipe from this area and still get a good view of the entire place. Be careful on your level to the right though. Enemies like to flank from this area. The left side is also a possible place to snipe from. Putting a spider mine on this platform will allow you to have notifications of enemies coming from below. Now the safest spot to cover the last point is in this area right here. It gives you a great vantage point and also you have plenty of cover. Be mindful though, there are a lot of entrances and doorways that can see you when you're here. If you move a little bit further up to the left, you can snipe the right side very easily as well as the main entrance. This will help you keep eyes on flankers at all times. However, flankers can also come to your left side, so you want to make sure you choose your spots wisely. Now for Volskaya Industries on offense, there aren't really any positions that give you an advantage up until the first point. You'll just have to find out the position of the enemy snipers and try to take them out at an angle. Once you and your team grab the first point though, you can snipe from here and get a really good view of the control point. Just watch out for any other Widowmakers and anybody trying to set up for defense. You can see the control point from the other side as well. Next, let's go over Illios. Now, because Illios is a King of the Hill map, it has 3 different rounds. In this round, we're going to be in the area where there's a lot of hotels. If you immediately go to the right when you spawn, you can drop down to this area and get a good view of the King of the Hill point. Further up, you can snipe from this walkway here and get anybody trying to get on the point as well. If you move up just a bit further up, you can get anybody from this entranceway who are walking down straight towards the point. However, enemies can come from this right entrance as well and try to flank. Now, if you're coming from the opposite direction, everything is pretty much just mirrored. You can also get on top of this walkway as well. And you can still pretty much drop down to this area, except it'll be on your left side instead of your right. Once you are able to get onto the point, you can snipe from on top of the point as well and get a very good vantage point from all directions. It takes a little bit of practice to get up here because you have to pretty much fly up here by pushing space at the end of your hook. If not, you'll pretty much just bug out and not be able to make it. This is a very powerful spot, so you pretty much want to get on here as soon as possible if you have point and there are no enemies on your point. Part 2 of Illios is the construction area. Next to the control point, you can pretty much snipe from this area and get a good view of your enemies. There's also another sniping area directly on the opposite side of you. These 2 areas are typically the best spots to snipe from. However, you can snipe from the center part here, but it's pretty dangerous. Now, this last round of Illios is pretty much the best spot that I like to snipe from. If you move onto your right or your left, depending on which side you're on, you can pretty much get onto this building here. It's a very good sniping spot as it allows you to see the actual entrance of the spawning area of your enemy. You can snipe from all the way back here and pick anybody out coming from their spawn area. However, it's a very hard shot to make, but if you can get them while they're coming out, it's pretty good. You can also snipe your enemies from the side when they're not looking and trying to take the control point as well. Another spot that you can take that's unexpected is right here. You can actually hook up onto this area directly above the point and snipe from here. You also have a decent amount of cover, and you can snipe your enemies as they are trying to take the point. This is how it looks like from the other side. Next is Lijiang Tower. This is going to be the night market area. Once you move out of this entrance and go directly opposite of the point, you can snipe from atop this area and get enemies coming across. It's a decent sniping spot as it allows you to catch enemies when they're not looking your way. Now, once you have the control point, you can snipe from atop of this window here. It's a pretty big vantage point and it gives you eyes on all the entrances and whether or not enemies will be coming from behind. Next on Lijiang Tower is the control center. If you go towards this direction, you can actually get on top of the point and snipe from this vantage point here. It's very powerful, as you can see pretty much the entire control point in all directions and snipe anybody trying to take it. You can also snipe on top of the point at a lower level and still get a good view of everybody trying to come through. I won't go over the second round of Lijiang Tower because it is very hard to snipe the point. Next, let's talk about Numbani. Now, I feel that Numbani is very exciting to snipe on, especially when you're on defense. It can get very hectic, and you can get some pretty sick shots. Though this is a very common spot to snipe from, it is actually very useful. On top of this walkway, you can see enemies coming out from the main entrance and also the right. However, you want to watch the right entrance as you can get the most cover while doing so. You have to be pretty quick and accurate to get these shots though. Putting a spider mine on the stairs or at the bottom of the stairs in the left room allows you to see anybody coming up, and you can also watch the left entrance for anybody trying to flank you. When you are sniping the right exit of your enemy spawn, you want to make sure that if anybody makes it past your shots, you are watching this right entrance as they are coming up the stairs here. Most of the time, enemies like to come up from this area and at least one will make it past your shots. This is why it's important to have a spider mine behind you because you can't be watching both directions at once. For a safer position, you can snipe from back here, or even from further back. As you can see, you have a lot of cover from most of these positions. You can snipe from there or you can snipe from on top of here. This is a good spot because it gives you an overview of the entire center area, and if you see enemies going on top of these stairs, you can notify your team telling them that they're coming from the back. Also, it is very easy for you to escape from enemies here and get directly on top of the point and get into good position. From back here, you can not only see enemies that were below you from before, you can also snipe enemies that are coming from the right side and also the back where you saw enemies going up the stairs. They can come from any of these three areas. You want to make sure to put a spider mine in the room behind you as well so you can get notified when enemies are trying to flank. Try not to snipe from here. You don't have a really good view and you can also get picked off from behind. If your enemy has secured the payload and you have time, you can set yourself up on top of the statue and shoot between his legs. This provides you with a lot of cover and you can actually get some really good headshots. Peek out whenever you can, and if you have projectiles coming your way, just stand behind the leg and use it as cover. This balcony is also a good area to snipe from as it gives you an escape route. For more of a direct shot onto the payload, you can snipe from the lower level here. This balcony here is a very common spot to snipe from as it gives you a good overview of the entire area.
There you are.
You can also snipe from on top of this thing, whatever it is. Flankers can be coming from the left and you can easily pick them off from here. In the last area, you can snipe from the trees and it's pretty hard for them to see you here. However, it's a pretty common spot, but if you're on your shots, you can take them out before they can take you. Now for Numbani on offense, it's very hard to snipe anywhere when you're trying to get the first part of the payload. Most of the spots are really tightly covered and it's pretty much really difficult for you to snipe anybody. So this first part is going to be after the payload. After you have secured the payload, you can hook around to the left side and snipe from here. It gives you some view of the next area, but mostly it's really good for cover and it's very unexpected. You'll be really hard to pick off and you can help push the payload very effectively by picking out their defenses. You also want to make sure you watch this top entrance. Now you can see the same area I was talking about before from this angle as well. It's a little bit of an easier shot, however you don't have as much cover and it's more expected. You can snipe from inside this room as well, but it's pretty common too. Once your payload has passed through the small tunnel, you can hook up on top of this area and snipe the entrance of where the enemies are going to be coming from. The payload is going to need to pass through this area, and you also want to watch your left and your right side as well. Next is Route 66. On top of this rock, you can pretty much see the front and also the right entrance. Once the door is open, if the Reinhardt does not have his shield up, you can easily get a headshot on anybody. However, there is a third entrance on the left, and you can put a spider mine there to notify yourself if anybody is coming there. Right after the doors open and you get a few shots, you can move on top of this walkway and snipe from here. You get a better view, but not as much cover though. If anybody comes through the train onto the right, it's an easy straight shot for you. However, if you don't feel like watching the front and also the right entrance, you can come down here and watch the straight shot to the left. A lot of flankers usually come through this area, and you can pick them off pretty easily. If there isn't much activity in the left entrance, you can still peek the middle one from here as well. Not only that, you can also hook back up to the rock very easily and continue sniping from here. This next area here on top of the building behind the banner is very effective but pretty common. You can use the sign as cover while trying to snipe the payload as it comes through. However, flankers will be coming through the top tunnel in this area, so you can put a spider mine there to notify yourself. The good thing about this spot is that you can either watch the payload or the top tunnel and be covered from one area while watching the other. This spot also allows you to alternate between both very easily. In this area, you can also snipe from the other side. Behind this sign, there's this little tiny area you can snipe from, and it gives you a really good amount of cover. However, you want to watch the top right tunnel if anybody's coming through. For a more open view, you can snipe from behind these rocks instead. In the next area, this spot here allows you to see not only the main entrance, but also the left entrance where you were at before. However, you want to watch your far left tunnel entrance as enemies can flank from here. Putting a spider mine here helps very well. For a higher vantage point, you can snipe from on top of these rocks here. It's a little tricky to get onto, but it's pretty good.
There you are.
Now, in this last area of Route 66, you can pretty much snipe from anywhere you want. It's very complicated and there's a lot of spots too, so I won't go over each and every one of them. The main idea is pretty much just to pick a spot that you like and see whether or not you can get a good sniping area. You get a lot of cover and still a lot of view on the payload from pretty much any position, so you can go ahead and pick and choose. Now on Route 66 as offense, it's really hard for you to push out as a sniper, so you want to be careful because their sniper is watching your entrances very carefully. You mainly want to keep in mind the two main spots that I talked about earlier, on top of the rock and also onto the right side. However, if they don't have a sniper or you're able to get past her, you can pretty much snipe from the right side freely. You can pick them off pretty easily and mitigate their defenses. Once your payload starts moving, you can snipe from on top of this area and get a good view of the next. Snipers tend to be on top of this building and also all the way in the back entrance as well, so you want to make sure to take those out first. Not only that, enemies will also be coming from this area too. You can also easily push up further and try to snipe from here too. In the next area, this spot behind the sign is also a very good spot as offense. If you can take it, you can pretty much take out enemy snipers and cause a lot of hell for your opponents. You can watch the two entrances at the bottom and also this spot here. You can't see it now, but enemies will be coming from here from the spawning point. If you decide to be a little more sneaky, you can hook up onto this left side instead. You'll get a better view of the enemies coming out from this area and you can shoot them from behind. Now in this next area as offense, you want to make sure you go through the left entrance and not through the middle or the right. You get picked off pretty easily if you go through those, so this is the safest area. You can use your hook to get up on top of here and get a pretty good view of all the defenses that they have and see if you can pick off anybody. It's pretty difficult though, because the Widowmaker that's defending will have the jump on you. Alright, that's it for part 2 of this sniper spot guide. Remember that these spots are just a guideline on where you can snipe from. Try out a combination of them, switch it up on your enemy, and see if you can find your own spots that you are comfortable with. That is the best way to play Widowmaker. When the map pool increases, I will go over those maps in a video next in this series and put it in the link below. If you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe button to see when my next video is out. Other than that, I want to thank you guys for watching and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.